Alrighty, guys. Good morning to you all here. A happy Wednesday, June 4th, 2025. I hope you guys are all doing well out there. And once again, severe weather is going to continue to be our main story. We've also got the threat for potentially our second Pacific named tropical system down off the coast of Mexico there. But severe weather is really going to steal the show as it's been doing over the last couple of months here. As expected to go into the month of June, we will see continuing to see severe weather be active. The biggest areas for severe weather concern over the next couple of days are going to be the central and southern plains, as well as getting now into the Ohio Valley and into even to the southeast as we go through the next 3 to 4 days. But what we're going to have is basically these MCS days. We've continued to have these days really since May started here, where we've got these mesoscale days where we get damaging winds, large hail, and even a couple tornadoes. And yesterday we were on stream for about 6 hours covering severe weather, and we had multiple tornado warnings yesterday. The good news is a lot of those tornado warnings were very, very brief rotations that did not end up being confirmed or actually producing a tornado. We did actually end up getting two PDS tornado warnings yesterday, one outside of Kansas City and one in Davenport, Iowa. Other than that, we also had a confirmed tornado in Norman, Oklahoma yesterday. Once we kind of get the details on what those ratings are, I'll let you guys know in future videos. But I want to go ahead and start out this video by showing you guys the global view here. We can see we've got a red blob down here. That's probably going to take most of y'all's attention away here, but that red blob is where we've now got a high chance of a tropical system developing back down here off the coast of Mexico. Once again, this is going to be like Alvin, as it was last week, where we had a tropical storm develop, and it actually ended up going up into Baja California and ended up bringing moisture into the Four Corners and giving us what we call monsoon season very, very early, but even though it's not monsoon season yet. So we ended up getting a lot of rain up there, much needed rainfall to kind of cool things off. This system we're going to have to watch. I don't think it's going to go up into Baja California and take the same track. There's going to be some different characteristics in our atmosphere that are going to kind of keep this thing further to the south. So we'll watch this over the next couple of days, see how that goes down there. And then we've also still got this little disturbance off the east coast here, which is going to just continue to bring some rip current issues, some rain, really over the next 3 to 5 days here. If you're on the east coast, definitely not a great time to go on the beach, as that will be causing rip current issues, as well as the general thunderstorm risk and just gross conditions if you're on the beach. So be mindful of that. I will zoom in here so you guys can see an overall picture of what we're also looking at here. We do have severe weather today expected. I'll get to that here in just a second, but you can also see it's a pretty chill and quiet morning here. We do have some showers and thunderstorms moving through the lower and central Ohio Valley here this morning, up into the upper Midwest here. Just rain, showers, and thunderstorms, nothing severe with that. Complex of storms back down here into the southeast portions of Texas, and then you can see our next system moving into the Four Corners, setting up here for today. So we're going to dive into all that, guys, talk about what we're going to see here severe weather-wise, kind of just talk about the global pattern. It's not changed much since yesterday when I made my video yesterday morning, but we're just going to talk about it, kind of get you guys ready to go here. I will mention as well, guys, I will not be doing weather coverage today, and there will not be weather coverage tomorrow. It is my birthday tomorrow, so we will be off. There will be severe weather tomorrow, so just be paying attention to the videos today and tomorrow. We'll be back doing severe weather on Friday, and there will not be coverage on Saturday. So I'll be off today, I'll be off tomorrow, and I'll be off on Saturday, but we will have coverage on Friday if need to be. So we'll get you guys out the door here and kind of talk about what we're going to see. Let's go ahead and head over to the Storm Prediction Center here and kind of talk about what we're going to see today. There is a lower end threat than yesterday. I don't expect today to be too big of an issue. We do have a pretty nasty little marginal risk that extends basically from Michigan and Ohio all the way down here into Texas, and this is going to be primarily for wind and for hail, really more of a wind threat, but any storms that can initiate in this marginal risk zone from Texas up to Michigan could produce a brief chance at an isolated tornado. You can never rule that out. It's less than 2%, not zero. And then we've also got the threat for wind and hail. Timing will be later on this afternoon as daytime heating commences. We've also got a marginal and a slight risk back down here into the Four Corners. This is typically where we see majority of our severe weather this time of the year in general. We get these little shortwave troughs that exit off of the west coast, and they bring us a little disturbance of severe weather. There is also a confined corridor here of tornado potential here, especially in eastern New Mexico and western Texas. We could see an isolated couple of brief tornadoes today, but as I expected, I don't expect today to be a big day. Tomorrow we'll start to kind of ramp things up more significantly. We do have a 2% tornado risk at play here, eastern New Mexico and western Texas. Wind threat at 15 and 5% for all regions there in the marginal and slight risk zones, and hail is also 15 and 5% there in that Four Corners area there. So be mindful, 60 to 70 mile per hour wind, 1 to 2 inch diameter hail, maybe a couple storms could produce lime size or bigger hail, and then we'll also have the threat for a brief tornado. I'll get the timing on that here in just a second. Now tomorrow is going to be where we kind of start to ramp things up, and sadly, it's just how it's going to have to be here. We have a huge marginal risk that extends all the way back from basically the Canada and Maine line, all the way back to the lower Ohio Valley, back up here into the plains. Our main significant severe weather corridor is going to be, once again, the central and southern plains, Texas, eastern New Mexico, southeastern Colorado, southern portions of Kansas, and western and central Oklahoma, where I do even think an enhanced risk could be introduced potentially at some point in the middle here for hail or for wind. This looks to be a pretty decent threat for severe weather tomorrow. Now, the bigger threat is going to be hail, as I expected here. We do have a 5% threat for seeing hail 1 to 2 inches in diameter from northeastern portions and northwestern portions of Pennsylvania all the way up into Maine. 5% and 15% chance here of seeing 1 to 2 inch diameter hail with a hatched region here in southern Kansas, here in northwestern Oklahoma, eastern Colorado, northern Texas Panhandle. We could see hail exceed 2 inches in diameter in that hatched region. Outside of that, everybody will have a chance of seeing 1 to 2 inch diameter hail. The wind threat tomorrow also going to be 5 and 15% for all areas there that are highlighted in the marginal and in the slides. Like I said, wouldn't be shocked to see an upgraded risk zone for hail or for wind in the future if that needs to be done. We've also got a tornado threat, and that tornado threat is also elevated tomorrow. We could see a couple of tornadoes tomorrow. I think a couple of tornadoes are actually expected tomorrow with this event. 5% and 2% tornado risk there, with being within a 25-mile radius of a given point. Now, if I want you guys to remember as well, we saw yesterday we had a 2% tornado risk. It didn't get upgraded to 5% until Kansas and Missouri started popping off, but we ended up seeing significant tornado potential yesterday in that 2%. So always take these 2% and these 5% regions very, very seriously, even though they may seem lower than what these higher end risk zones could be. So just be mindful of that as always. Get to the timing on that here in just a second. Now we get into Friday, and Friday looks very, very interesting. We don't typically see a lot of these risk zones that kind of go west to east like this. The reason why this is we are going to have what's called zonal flow. Zonal flow is when our jet stream continues to move across the United States kind of in a west to east fashion. What that's going to do is set up a significant damaging wind threat and a hail threat, and I also think we could see an enhanced risk introduced somewhere in here on Friday. The same thing will apply to Saturday. We'll talk about Saturday here in a second, but a huge risk zone at play for Friday. Marginal and slight risk in the dark green and the yellow there. All modes of severe weather will be possible from Texas through Oklahoma back into Arkansas and the lower Ohio Valley, the Tennessee Valley, and even portions of the southeast here. We'll get into tomorrow's video and we'll talk about the hazards because those haven't been implemented yet. They won't get implemented until we get into the day 2 range, but all modes of severe weather will definitely be possible. Kentucky, Tennessee, back up into the southeast and into the plains there. And then we get into the day 4 outlook, and we're not done after that, guys. You're like, all right, where is this going next? The day 4 outlook for Saturday, once again, another huge risk zone here for severe weather, level 2 risk out of 5. This goes from Charlotte, North Carolina, back down to the southeast here, getting into Tennessee. This does shift south as our front shifts south back into the plains here. Texas, you guys just cannot get a break. Dallas, Oklahoma, Fort Worth here, getting into Little Rock, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Carolinas here, even into Tennessee. We could see all modes of severe weather again on Saturday with more of a damaging wind and a hail threat. And these can implement derecho-like setups, so we are going to have to watch and see how these MCSs unfold, but we could get a derecho one of these days out of this if things do line up for that. That's basically a big wall of wind. They cause significant damage. They cause, structural damage significantly sometimes too. We've had some of the bigger events in, the past couple of years that produce derechos, and we get, winds over 80 plus miles per hour consistently for a lot of areas. So just something to be mindful of. We'll talk more about that if we need to talk more about that in the future. And then looking at the outlook through day 5, day 6, day 7, day 8, we don't have anything yet, but I would expect maybe something to be introduced in the future for that. Now let's kind of talk about what we're going to see for today and kind of get a hit at tomorrow here. Showers and thunderstorms today are going to be isolated to scattered, as I mentioned here. We'll see more rain than thunderstorms really across the lower Missouri Boot Hill area here up into northern Arkansas, back into portions of western Kentucky, southern Illinois, Indiana. Showers and thunderstorms and the occasional severe thunderstorm warning could produce an isolated tornado warning. Very slim chance up there. More of a wind threat than anything over there in the lower Ohio Valley and in the Midwest. We are going to have to watch a little corridor here. We could see a couple of intense supercells produce some wind and some hail, maybe even a brief little spin-up tornado maybe into Texas here, eastern New Mexico. So just be mindful if you're out and about today. Now tomorrow, though, looks a little bit more significant, and I do think an enhanced risk could, like I said, be at play for tomorrow. We'll just have to see what happens, but some of these models here showing showers and thunderstorms across the Ohio Valley, moving into Kentucky. You see a couple of these intense supercells popping up down here into Texas. We're really going to have to watch the same areas really over the next 48 hours to 72 hours here. We can see showers and supercells firing off here. More of a widespread area for supercells across Thursday evening here from Texas up to southern Kansas and Oklahoma. And then after that, things get a little bit more uncertain, but we could see more of a confined complex of storms through the overnight hours of Thursday into Friday morning. We'll talk more about that kind of going into the next couple of days here. I will show you guys the tornado parameters just to kind of show you guys in general what we're looking at today. Very, very low end tornado parameters, less than 2%, if not 2% for most areas. And then we get into your Thursday here, and we have a better little shot of seeing an elevated 5% chance there of seeing a couple of tornadoes there. And then after that, things become a little bit more uncertain going into Friday. We'll talk more about Friday later on in tonight's stream and into tomorrow. I will have a weather update stream tonight, guys. As always, I just won't be in live coverage mode the next 2 days here. So let's talk about our jet stream once again. Got a lot of things going on here, a lot of disturbances, a lot of dips, a lot of shear in the atmosphere here. Little shortwave trough here. This is what's bringing today's severe weather and tomorrow's severe weather across the plains here. We've got still a disturbance here moving into the lower Ohio Valley, where more of our bulk shear is kind of displaced that across Illinois, Missouri, getting up into portions of Michigan. So that's where that wind threat will be more confined to. But I want you guys to see, as we go through the rest of the week here, that troughing will move out there. That low pressure system will eject. That trough will eject here across the plains. And then as we go into Thursday and Friday, we do need to watch watch for a little intensification here on Friday here. I do think, like I said, a damaging wind threat is definitely going to be expected with this here. Hail and, a couple tornadoes will be possible, but these do promote MCS, mesoscale convective scale systems, basically just walls of wind. So if you're in these areas here in the Central Plains back into the lower Ohio Valley and into the Midwest, you need to be very, very careful on Friday. We'll talk more about this in tomorrow's video once the models become a little bit more consistent, but I do want to watch that on Friday, and then going into Saturday, we really just start to see zonal flow, and this is when we start to see, a ridge developing over here in the west. Temperatures will climb significantly over there, and then we see more of these everyday severe weather setups going from basically the high plains back down into the Midwest, the Southeast, and the Ohio Valley. And that's really what's going to promote our setup, our pattern here for the rest of the month of June, at least as of right now, going into the second and third week. And then we might even see more of an organized severe weather setup going into early next week. There are things a little bit more uncertain. And then, as we get past that 14-day period here, we take this with a grain of salt, but what it looks to be is ridging will really significantly start to expect to take over here. And this is what typically we see during the month of June, especially as we go into July. A lot of ridging. It keeps temperatures very, very warm. Things are very dry. We do get some, severe weather days that can develop back up here into the high plains with this, but I do expect a more quieter pattern going into the second week of June if these models do continue to trend with this. That'll keep the severe weather out and just, give us that summertime feel that we've all kind of, I guess, been waiting for quite some time now. It's been very, very rainy, been very, very thunderstormy, a lot of severe weather, so hopefully we can get that out of here, get a break, and, we may see some more active severe weather as we go towards the end of June, but things become way, way too uncertain as we go into that time period there. Another thing I will show you guys here, just the overall rain totals going through the next couple of days here, as always. I like to show these just to give people an idea of how much rain they could see. This is going to be through next Monday here. You can see the higher corridor of heavy rainfall through the plains here back into the lower Ohio Valley. Anywhere from 3 to 5 inches of rain could fall in these areas, with isolated 5 to 8 inches here. We saw a couple of flash flood emergencies yesterday in El Dorado, Kansas, back in Wichita yesterday for significant flooding. That's when rain accumulates, quickly over a couple of hours there. So we saw that happening. But other than that, rain will be the continuing story. Severe thunderstorms will be the continuing story. We'll keep you guys updated on the latest. I'll have a weather live stream later on tonight, as we always do our late night evening streams. If for some forsaken reason we get some crazy severe weather today and things just really pop off, kind of like yesterday, we'll hop on if we need to hop on, but I'm going to try and stay off today, enjoy birthday for tomorrow as well, and do that. So I will probably have a little mini stream later on this afternoon for you guys as well, just to kind of talk to you guys, hang out with you guys a little bit, because we haven't got to do that a lot. But other than that, be safe, guys, be weather aware, and we'll see you in the next one.